Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I want to apologize for the late start. It's that kind of weekend because we've got all kinds of weird things happening this weekend, and as such, it's a sort of microcosm of planet Earth right now, and maybe we should expect nothing less. The first thing I want to do is to introduce my friend, colleague, and partner, Kerry Cassidy, whose inspiration this conference was.
He's so English that he has to introduce me like you don't know who I am, right? But thank you, Bill. I appreciate the formality. As an American, let's bypass all that. No. Anyway, it's great because normally we fight over the mic. So this was Lewis's brilliant idea to give us each one, and that way I'm not going to have a problem.
Now we've got two mics, it means we can both talk at the same time, right?
And that's not going to be a problem for me. Okay, but I have a lot of people to thank, and I just want to do that right offhand. We have Don Bogatz. I don't even know if I say his last name right, but he's in the back. He is actually our investor. Without him, this wouldn't be happening. He trusted enough that he was going to make his money back, and actually he has, thanks to you. So that's... And thank you so much, all of you, for coming and for showing your support in this way. You're actually voting with your feet, which is a saying I like very much. And so here you are, and this is important because it's actually not about us. It's about the cause and what we're talking about and what we stand for here. And it's getting more serious every day. And so although we're going to have a lot of fun this weekend, it is a serious subject, and I do appreciate that you came here early in the morning, and you're going to be listening to a really fabulous first speaker, George Green, and as most of you know, and he's really going to set the stage for everything else that's going to happen today. I also want to thank, I want to thank Kira, and sorry Kira, I don't remember your last name. She organized...
Kelm.
And he keeps track of all the details, so he's basically my database, because I tend to be the more artistic, intuitive type, and I'm out there in the ozone when I'm not down here physically. Anyway, so I want to thank Kira very much for organizing the database of the tickets. We had the person who was going to do that job fall through twice during the last few months. So she came on board at the very end, and she is just stellar and very organized. And you're probably sitting in your seats at this moment because of her. And all the volunteers. And we have over 20 volunteers who came forward, most of them in the very beginning. And as many of you will know, I was going to do this conference in June. And then we had some cancellations, and we had to actually close down that effort. But I decided to keep this thing alive, and as it happened, thanks in part to Wendy, who is handling, from the Granada Forum, who's way over there in the back. She's handling the filming and making of DVDs of the event, and she's also quite a conference giver in her own right. And the Granada Forum is something you can search on the web, and they have speakers and all kinds of things, and she's a very valuable person to know. So I encourage you to go up to her during the conference and just say hello and so on. But I want to thank her because she was one of the people who actually helped me set the date for this. And not to go on too long because we want to bring George up, but I do want to thank all the volunteers. We have over 20 volunteers. We have some behind-the-scenes security going on, so you guys are safer and secure. And we've got some highly gifted psychics and intuitives as part of this conference, and I'm sure in the audience as well. So we are actually clearing the space and and basically saying that all negative beings, if there are any visiting, watching, if you want to watch, fine, but just keep clear and let us do our thing here because we want to be at peace. And so anyway, we've got quite an interesting mix. We've got some whistleblowers that will be behind the scenes from time to time today. We have an announcement, and Bill, why don't you talk about Pete?
Okay. The first thing I want to say, actually, just before we start getting really serious, is thank you for making this conference break even. It was a risk for the investor. Now that we know that we're making a little tiny bit of money, the agents in the audience, if you go and produce your idea at the desk, we'll give you half price. We know you're here. It's all cool. It doesn't matter. Everyone's on this planet together as human beings, and we hope that you're going to have fun too. And I mean that very seriously. We hide out in the open. Everyone knows who we are. There's some very extraordinary people here this weekend, and
in walks Rich Dolan, right on that cue.
Right.
So,
okay.
Talking about extraordinary people, he's got a new book out. He'll be speaking here at the conference, and it's nice to see you this early in the morning. I know it's hard to fly from New York State, and the jet lag is intense.
Okay, now we already have a mystery and a bit of intrigue here because Dr. Pete Peterson has not arrived, and we cannot make contact with him. We do not know where he is, and we do not know whether he will be coming. So we have to be upfront about that. We last spoke to him 36 hours ago. He gave us every assurance that he would arrive late last night. He has not done so, but there could be all kinds of reasons for that. He's slated to speak at, I think, 11 o'clock this morning or late this morning. What we will do is we'll move the speaker slots around so that we don't have a hole in the program, and we'll continue to try and make contact with him, and assuming that he arrives today, then he will be on stage either late this afternoon or tomorrow, and see what we can do. We
also have some substitute speakers that are going to be in the audience, and also we're going to try to pull Jordan Maxwell into this. He's introducing Bob Dean late this afternoon. We're going to ask him if we have a free hour to come up. He was initially supposed to be a speaker at this conference, believe it or not, but he was he's been quite careful about what he's doing. He gets phone calls, threats, this and that. So he's a very brave man, and we're very excited because he was here last night, just coming around, saying hello to people, and he'll be back today to introduce Bob Dean, so we can also get him on stage. I believe we're going to have Bill Deagle. If he's not here already, he will be here later. He's also an amazing speaker in his own right. Any of these people will be able to come on stage and substitute. So
we had a message late last night from Gordon Novell asking for directions. He says he's going to roll up. We might as well tell you he's going to be here because he's the kind of guy who can't possibly hide. Unless he's wearing a latex mask, you'll be able to recognize him immediately.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen his video, then you really missed something, a treat, I have to say.
All right. So let's get off the stage here, and we'll bring George on in just a moment. One of the reasons why George is up first here is because we have a lot to either thank him for or blame him for, depending on your perspective. He's written a bunch, or what he has, let me start that sentence again. His fingers were on the keyboard when a number of books were written, and they are available at the back, I believe. We cannot recommend them too much. And one of the little idioms that he has introduced is the concept of the ground crew. It's a wonderful book called Messages for the Ground Crew, and he introduces the concept, which he will speak about in just a moment, that this planet is in trouble. And there are people here, this lifetime, here and now, who feel upon themselves a responsibility, a job, and a duty of care to do what they can do to assist this planet and the human race in a time of transition. And if it's possible to put the theme of this conference into a little nutshell, that's something close to what this is all about. And so we started talking about the ground crew, like a bunch of sort of spiritual stormtroopers who are in here to try and save a difficult situation, just like in any good Hollywood movie. And this concept has been picked up and cloned all the way around the planet. And so we get messages from people, I'm sure George does as well, saying, hey, you know, I'm in the Paris ground crew, or I'm in the Argentine ground crew, or I'm in the New Zealand ground crew. And these people are declaring themselves to be ground crew all over the place. And I think you've even got ground crew on the badges here. So we've introduced a new term into the English language here. We'll have a Wikipedia page soon.
Well, you know. Yeah, it's and thanks to George again. But it's also, we have been invited, these spontaneous conferences are being sprouted up all over Europe, as you might have heard, and we did one in Amsterdam recently. They organized it in a week's time, believe it or not. They had 200 plus people, if I remember. And we are now invited to Poland. Bill was invited just recently. I wasn't able to make it. They couldn't afford to fly me, but we're now going back. And then Brussels as well. Brussels Ground Crew is putting on something in Brussels. So it's really exciting. It's like a grassroots movement, what we've got going on here. And we're going to change the world.
And we have George to thank for this. George, come on up.
Thanks.
Oh, okay. He's a wonderful man. Okay, so George is an amazing speaker, and you just don't want to miss a word. Okay, so are you hooked up here? Can we hear you?
I don't know. Yes.
Okay.
Everybody
It
here?
works.
So we're going to abandon the stage. We love to talk, and you do too, so there can't be 3 talkers at once here. So anyway, enjoy. This is George Green.
Before we begin, I would like everybody to just kind of quietly close your eyes for a second. And I want to demand that all dark energies leave our space. And also I want to invite my unseen friends to be in contact with all of you. There's a little prayer that's in the book, as you know, is, I am a human becoming, help me become. And as the ground crews are growing all over the planet, we are humans becoming, help us become. Thank you. I'm going to try to bring this up because they're only giving me a few minutes to talk about things today, and I will be around to go on to bring you up to date and to look at the world for what's occurring right now as of yesterday and the day before. This will be my update, if I call it, for the 2009, and the reason is in the next few weeks or days or hours, things are going to be happening to us. And believe it or not, they put it in black and white. I got this 2 days ago from some company called Bank of America. It's notifying me that anybody that goes overseas right now, if you go on the credit cards, there's going to be a 45% surcharge. I've got the documents. You can look them yourself. This is on all the cards. They're not accepting American Express in some places right now. To give you an idea, if you go to Europe, as you probably know, and I know Carrie and Bill have just been there, they won't take the dollar anymore. But I'm going to repeat, I got this yesterday from Hong Kong. I can't even exchange a $100 bill on the street here anymore. Most of the street money changers will take euros, Singapore dollars, even Chinese yuan. But fearful of losing their shirt with sinking exchange rate, they don't want the US dollar. That should give you an idea. It says, not long ago I never traveled without my American Express card. Now it sits in my office safe. The world money is being changed drastically in the positions. This week, we've got a lot of anniversaries coming up. September 15th is the day FDIC ran out of money. We have 94 banks that have gone under this year, and they're not talking about another 100 that are ready for it. The FDIC, of course, has the ability now to borrow from the government in order to offset the banks. That's to keep you guys totally asleep and very happy with what's going on. Cash itself is being monitored at all banks. If you go withdraw over 2,500 or more, you may have to fill out a form. So they're notifying. My friends in Panama have notified me that Homeland Security is going over all bank accounts down there. If you're connected as an American, and if you haven't reported your deposit down there, they're seizing the money, and then you're considered a terrorist. They're starting to do that in all countries that have anything to do with the exchange system. The Bank of International Settlements, which is the 13 families in Switzerland, have got permission to audit the Federal Reserve. I don't know what good that's going to do, because it's the old story. Figures don't lie, but liars figure. We have a problem in the United States drastically. I just told you that the 15th FDIC went up. What happens on the 22nd of this month? Have any idea? It's the equinox. What does it begin? The fall. Historically, the fall begins in October. I've said this before, the stock market, which is being manipulated by the Plunge Committee, and they tell you that in the news if you listen to it, they're moving the stocks up in order to create the illusion that it's growing. Stock market has nothing to do with business. As you know, I was an underwriter and a securities principal. And as I did this, I learned the game of monopoly in a big way from the stock market, and it's just a way to take money. It's kind of like, I'm a stock salesman. I got to convince all of you people to buy stock in something because that's going to make you rich. Well, the next step down is you don't have time enough, so we're going to manage your money. We're going to put it in a mutual fund. Well, you don't. Mutual fund owns stocks, but you don't. Mutual funds have no voting rights. Of the stocks in the United States right now that are being traded, basically 60% of them are controlled by investment trusts or mutual funds, which don't have any value to even vote for what the company's supposed to do. One man, David Rockefeller, owns 4.5% of 90% of the world's corporations, and he has voting control, to give you an idea. So you're playing with a real interesting group of people because, as they knew, Rockefeller basically was backing Obama when they first come out. I publicly have said that before. So it's an inner group will set everything up on the whole planet as they're doing things. Now, we've had some also interesting meetings, and I'll bring this up for you in the perspective, because you ought to know about this. The problem in the United States, as you know, we've got half of the population over 50. Do you have any idea what the average weight of women is across the United States? Believe it or not, this was in Forbes magazine. The average weight of a woman in the United States right now is 163 pounds. That means you're vertically challenged. You're too short for your weight. The problem is, again, where is that contained? It's mostly fat within the body. Fats, and I cut up a lot of animals, as you probably know. My dad owned a slaughterhouse. Only diseases we saw were in the fat. It's not in the muscle. So as we get a generation right now, people are getting sick more because the fats retain all of the junk that you take, all of the environmental poisons that are introduced into your body, whether it's through the water supply, through rat poison, i.e. fluoride, or through or equal aspartame, all of these poisons that are down out here, because you're going to diet. And die is the word that you look at. And most of the things in the systems and the religions are all telling you have to die to be saved. Well, that isn't the way it works. We're at a program of the ground to awaken you up, to empower you right now, to give you the ability to assist with assistance from off planet, because we can't do it ourselves. When I found out what was going on, when they asked me to be in the inner circle up there about what their plans are, the Plan 2000, I was astounded, but it made logical sense. The universe is logical. Mysterious maybe, don't make it mystical. Here's the situation. The planet itself is increasing by 250,000 people a day. It's 2.5 million every 10 days. We don't have enough resources. They're telling you that. Mexico last week just declared they got 2 more years of oil. The United States is not drilling any new wells. It'll take 3 to 5 years for the new equipment, and the average cost is getting closer to $1 billion to do a drill. They shut down, because of the EPA and the cost of everything, all of the natural gas drilling that they're doing up in Wyoming and Montana and stuff. You're probably aware of that. Canada just got you shutting it down. Mexico exports 30% of its oil to the United States. They announced that they only have 2 years left of their oil for the whole country. Where do they get their oil? From Latin America. So you have Latin America now that's in a new deal. China last week, again currently, made a deal with Venezuela to buy all of their oil for the next 3 years. Boone Pickens last week, somebody was here in the audience, attended the meeting, and he said oil will be $300 a barrel very shortly. What's the most valuable mineral on the planet? Water. We're running out of potable water everywhere. This is not just here, the entire planet. So the guys have to do something else. They got to get you ready for World War III. Now, they reported on television about 3 weeks ago, you maybe saw it on CNN, the so-called Russian nuclear submarines that were seen on the East Coast. Have any of you seen it? A few of you did, right? This is their nuclear-powered submarine that's about 2 football fields in length, 5 stories tall, and able to do 80 miles an hour underneath the water, totally undetected. Now, they reported this. The reason why that was reported 3 weeks ago, what happened this week? Russia sits down to the United States, Obama's sitting over there, and what did he just do? He said, we will no longer put any of our missile defense over in Europe. You know why? Because we got nuclear submarines on both coasts, including the West Coast, and they have a list of all the cities that the nuclear submarines will take out. When they're talking about vaporizing people, our former Secretary of Defense, who was part of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Agreement on Public Broadcasting, PBS, spent an hour explaining that within 90 seconds we'll vaporize 5 million people. We are their expendable containers. It's getting serious right now because of what's going on in the Middle East. We have a Russian in the audience. We were just talking about it. I got word too. Netanyahu went up to see Putin, and Putin threw him out. Putin is basically a frontman for the U.S. that's setting up to get World War III started in the Middle East. And that was the Plan 2000 that Jimmy Carter put in writing. These are the games that we're setting up right now. They've got to do something, because what is coming up on September 30th, another day? Fiscal year. The end of the fiscal year in the United States. Again, they don't tell you, because they do the accounting underneath the sheets, basically, so you don't know what's going on. But the fiscal year begins with us $100 trillion in debt and derivatives. I've defied on the radio and everything else, anybody else, to tell me how you can value a derivative. I've said that on Coast to Coast 5 years ago. And a derivative is just an instrument created by the people, and we got insurance companies to insure it, so they gave it some kind of value. Of course, that insurance company went broke, didn't it? And then the government stepped in, and they immediately rescued that insurance company. And why did they immediately do that? Because it was holding all the funds for the retirement accounts for all of the congressmen and settlement. Did you know that? It's an inside deal, guys. We're playing with a stacked deck. When I was inside the Beltway, we used to sit down. Remember, they just got you marching on Washington because of the health thing? We know the health thing's dead. You all know it right now. But it's a way they're trying to get the American people to line up to get shots, to get regulated, and everything else. We have problems. We don't have any goods coming in. This is last week now. A small company called Walmart got $1 billion loan. Now, what's $1 billion? Anybody know what $1 billion is? Yeah, it's a $10,000, $100,000 homes, or $5,000, $100,000 homes. Of the 1 million houses that went into foreclosure in the last 12 months, half of them are back in foreclosure. Did you know that? In England today, 1 out of 7 households, in England, 1 out of 7 households, there's no job. How many people are unemployed here in the United States? And what is the one thing that's killing everybody? Is the secret thing that's going on. It's called inflation. How many times have you gone to the store lately and see what the price is going up? Do you think it's going up 1%? 2%? The true figures are getting closer to 20%. And you can prove that, go buy an apple. Did you know 90% of the cost of an apple and all the fruits and all that is in transportation? 90%. Why are the farmers going broke? What's happening? We have a problem because of greed, non-coordinating everything, and energy. Everybody has to have some kind of energy. None of the energy solutions that they're providing are cost effective. I don't care what they put on them, whether it's windmills or whether it's anything else they have. Nuclear may have it, but it takes 10 years to get a plant going. But nuclear has a problem because nuclear is the only thing, nuclear energy, if it goes off, will destroy the soul energy. Real problem. It disrupts it. The extraterrestrials are monitoring all that. It's not a question of what's going on because there's a thing called free will. If we're crazy enough to kill ourselves, that's all right. They're prepared to encapsulate the planet and make another sun out of it. There's groups of extraterrestrials that are considering us, that they engineered us in the first place. I've been traveling around some places like in Ecuador where the Anunnaki and stuff have things where they were originally involved. You can read about it in Genesis, where they were engineering people. We're engineered. We're all extraterrestrial. And when you leave this, what I call rent-a-wreck, this body, you become an extraterrestrial, right? This soul continues the journey whether it's here or not. And there's no such thing as death, only with the one exception that the ETs told me. If we get hit by a nuclear, there's a possibility. So what you have to do every day when you do the little prayer, and I hope you all do, I'm a human becoming, help me become, ask for protection and guidance daily. I don't care where you live. There's going to be places that are safer than others. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. I mean, I was with the guy that's second in command, the FEMA head down in Phoenix. And he said, well, we know what's coming down for California because you're getting ready for the San Andreas to break. And that's going to be before the war. I have some kind of, I've been trying to figure this out because I saw San Francisco totally, the pictures of it totally collapsed. And it was because of an earthquake. It wasn't because of the war. So it has to be fairly shortly because these guys are running behind time. The Plan 2000, just so you know, calls for a war to get started in the Middle East in the year 2000. Now, they've been trying to do it, haven't they? How much bombings do you have to put up with? Israel was set up in 48 specifically for this purpose. I mean, it's an incredible deal. So you're going to watch. Netanyahu he went up to Russia because he was getting ready. He said, we're going to hit Iran. Guess who supplies Iran with all the nuclear technology? Russia. Russia pulled all their scientists from all of the reactors and everything down there. The Iranians wanted to do was build plants to recycle the nuclear waste. You're all familiar with nuclear power and radiation, what it does? In the United States, you know, they called me a few weeks ago from Alamogordo, New Mexico. There's a lot of nuclear stuff down there. You know what our government's planning on doing? Burning radiation. Does that make any sense to you? We've already tried this experiment, right? The United States, when we discovered nuclear energy, we started exploding nuclear bombs in the higher atmosphere. That has formed an energy beam that is eating holes through the ozone. None of the CFC malarkey. CFC is the stuff in your refrigerators. It's cold. It goes down to the ground. It doesn't go up in the air. It's kind of like using the cell phones and turn them off in the airplane. Hey, that's all microwaves. You people don't realize when you put a cell phone up to yourself, you're microwaving yourself. And it's all done by the microwave towers we're aiming at the ground. They don't go up in the air anyway. It's all line of sight. People don't realize that. If you have a cell phone, I have one, but I don't use it as a speaker phone, so it's held away from me. Because what it does, it's up next to your brain, and now they're coming out with a TV special next week to tell you on all the cancers that are being formed. Remember the vibration that's coming into your ear? The receivers in there are vibrating, and that's being translated into your brain in order to be offset. Now, we have two systems going on within your body. That's your conscious mind, which is supposed to be awake. And it's supposed to be awake because of a hormone called serotonin. You're all familiar with that? When the sun comes up, serotonin comes in, and here we are, a 3D world. I mean, you don't need coffee. You can have the serotonin. It's natural. And at nighttime, the sun goes down, and we have what? melatonin. Melatonin allows you to go to sleep. Consider this, since you've been reading the books, you're all an extension or a part of the creation. We don't care what you are. You're part of the creation, an individual spark, but the information and data that you do during the daytime is being fed back to the creation between the hours of midnight and 4. You may be disrupted because of all of the ELF and everything else that's going on right now, so communication from other dimensions is being, quote, guarded. It's being checked as much as they can. All of the energy streams and stuff they're building up in Canada right now to wipe out, quote, the internet, which has taken over the whole system right now. They announced this morning, by the way, Google is going to allow you to buy print on demand all the books you want from their library. Now, Google went to all the major libraries on the East Coast and downloaded all their books. So you can get them all for basically the cost of a download, or you can download it for free. Going to keep you focused on, this is something to let you know. As a publishing business, people don't buy books anymore. They'll watch the CD or DVD or whatever else we have for a while. But they won't sit down and think anymore. I want you guys to take some real time to be with you. Who's the real you? Go home, turn the TV off, turn the radio off. If you want to, read the handbook a little bit and just sit and meditate and ask for some guidance. Guys, we know what doesn't work, don't we? Nothing's working right now. We're still increasing the population. We don't have enough food. We don't have enough distribution to take care of the planet. In theory, politically wise, it's possible to feed the planet, but the planet was engineered for 500 million people. They even made a monument to this already down in Georgia, the Georgia Guidestones. There's some people out here that's been there and looked at it. It's in 8 languages. It gives you their goal. One world order, one world religion, 500 million people. I happen to know they're going to have 20 million Americans. That's what they're expecting in the United States. And why do you think they build all these prisoner of war camps? Which I was asked to build one, as you probably know, in downtown Las Vegas. This is interesting because they're happening all across the United States right now because we let ourselves go to sleep and we've been assumed, what's the TV going to be talking about the next 12 hours now? Obama and his health care program. Well, they've already told you it's not going to go. It was basically a control system to get everybody lined up. Under the FEMA rules, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the President already has the authority to suspend the Constitution, whatever that is at this point. And what they do then, they're going to require you to go to the post office and register. And when you go to the registration, you're going to have a current Social Security card. If you don't have it, you're going to have to get one. And they're going to give you the new world, what they call the World Cash Card. That will allow you your rations. It'll also give them a chance to find out if they want you. Their cutoff deal for people is age 44. Anybody over here over 44? If you have the talent that they can use, they're going to allow you to continue. This is almost like the beginning of the Fourth Reich or Hitler again. I mean, when Hitler and his group had left, I don't know if you know this, but Hitler didn't die in the bunker. That was his cousin. But most of those guys ended up in South America, and they're all over the place. I have government documents proving that, along with Stalin and everything else, and even the airplane that they were on, that when he left from Germany and went down to Spain and then got aboard a submarine. These are things that people don't know, but this is just a play. They keep the intergroup going or keep them asleep on all these things. Now, some of that maybe sounds strange or not, but if you go search it out, you'll find it. And I was curious about that because when I was in Cuenca, in Ecuador down here, Bormann's grave is there. They had all the German wealth that they brought over there. And Father Crespi got some of it and the rest of them. And a lot of them went down, as you know, the Germans ended up all over South America. So it was just a game to play. They could disperse the thing going down because he was going forward with the deal. Well, right now, the people behind the scenes are going to go forward with it. They're running out of time. September 30th, I said, is the fiscal year. We're going to begin in debt. The problem is, again, we're hitting a cycle within the planet itself and the system, so you're going to see the stock market just collapse. There's nothing behind it anyway. Here's another thing. When the last time everybody got scared, so what did they do? They had about $1 trillion in money market funds. How many people have money in money markets? There's a few of you. in the last 6 months, you've moved your money out of stocks and whatever and put it into money markets. So there's $3 trillion in money market. Now, if you're a money market manager, where do you put the money? Buy California bonds? Would you loan money to California? Seriously. So how, and California by statute and all the states don't have the ability to do anything other than tax the people to get their money. They can't create it like the Federal Reserve. Interesting. So you're looking at the 8th largest country in the world, California, tubing it. Meanwhile, real estate is real interesting within itself. And as you know, I was a real estate developer. My last major project was $100 million. The situation with real estate, it's only controlled because there's money out to lend on houses. People don't have any money to buy houses, and right now the new rules, if it's less than $200,000 in price range, they go under one of the new government guarantees and they give them an $8,000 credit. If they don't sell the house, they have to keep the house for over 3 years. Otherwise, they have to come back and repay it. But even so, they're resetting it down. They're coming back and resetting some of the loans on people, but they come back in on the appraisals. They got to come back with a current appraisal. That's the deficiency in the appraisal on the current house, i.e. Sun City, Arizona. How many people have been over to Sun City? House prices are down 55%. Did you know that? Phoenix is at 50%. Florida's got the same problem. Las Vegas, you got a whole brand new condominiums over there. They're totally empty. You've been down on the Strip and seen them? They're there. And the people out here that are greedy say, well, I'm going to go out and buy some of these houses. So they go out and buy the houses that the people have basically destroyed, and they fix them all up, but there's nobody out here to buy them because we have to have people working. How many people do you think are really unemployed across the United States right now? What is the unemployment factor? You think it's 9.99? You're close. 25% was the answer that they're talking about. That means 1 out of 4. Now we got another problem. It's not a problem, it's just information. 1 out of 3 people in the United States work for the government. Did you know that? What do they do here in California right now? They don't have the money. They give you a furlough, isn't that right? How many people here are on furlough? See? They're not paying. And if they did, they give you a chit that they won't honor anyway. When it's going to be good? I'm urging everybody right now to buy gold and silver. I mean, gold may be at 1,000, what was it yesterday, 18 or something? And whatever. It's, you know, you have to buy it like $50 over. Right now, silver is the better buy. China has also put out $250 billion to go out and buy all the world's resources. So they've been buying everything. And they've got a huge stockpile of all of the metals. Their problem is, who's been the market? The American people. So when Japan load Walmart $1 billion to get paid back in yen, guess what China's doing? They just went down and they're making arrangements to buy all these things, or it's all in their currency. Because there's a fight now. Japan and China are discussing now to creating a new currency with them. Frankly, the Chinese military, which I talked to, they said they're going to let the West go to war. They're totally aware of it. Today in the paper, you're going to be reading about, quote, China's military. Well, you know what the chairman over in China told our president? You don't know how many nuclear bombs we have. We don't. But they got 1.3 billion people. Have you walked over to China recently? You have no idea what 1 billion people are until you walk among them. I mean, look at our population, 325, 3 million plus 3.5 million people. And we're talking about a lot of people when you come up to 1 billion. Anyway, we have 300 million is what we have in the United States. Anyway, the next thing I want to bring up, just to keep you more informed on the economic situation, do I expect the banks? Well, I went to Bank of America, and I went and withdrew $2,500. That was all the cash the bank had. Literally, the cash. That was a branch of Bank of America. What we're going to do is I urge you to get a bunch of small bills. That's 1, 5, 10s, and 20s, because when this collapses, and it could happen any time, Anytime after this, sometime in the next 3 or 4 weeks, frankly, I'm very concerned on the first because of what's happening in Europe. When I got this Bank of America thing yesterday, or day before yesterday, before I come down here, I say, man, are they getting this thing wound up? If they're getting this to the banks right now, and this, by the way, this is to the companies that process MasterCard and Visa. How many people in here trade on eBay? eBay is going to start giving 1099s, by the way, to people that receive money. Does that tell you anything? They're doing what they can to find where money's at in the people out here as such. What's real estate going to do? If there's no loans from the banks, it's going to go farther down. I don't know, I used to live in Beverly Hills. 60% of the houses in Beverly Hills are rented. Did you know that? Rent them. Because the people have had them for a long time, and that's their storage of wealth. I prefer gold and silver. I can move it anywhere I want to in the world, but it's making it harder. As of this last month, the post office now will not insure gold transferring through the mail. This is all last month. It's on your box. So what there's happening, then we have a showdown. Some of the dealers have special binders with insurance companies so they can still get it to you. And, you know, I'm only 5 blocks away from the Mint, so I'm kind of interested in what the story is because they're so far behind. Everybody's running their money to base metals because they can use that as a trading vehicle. That's all you're going to do because the most valuable thing is going to be your food. So I urge you to do what? Get food stored up of some kind, dried or whatever. It's not wise to be in the major cities, frankly. I know a lot of you are stuck here because of your jobs. Well, your jobs are going to go away. That's all planned. You're going to be mobilized into work brigades. That's what they got scheduled. We've exported everything out of this country. All the major jobs are. When I was in Vegas with my architect friend, I did some building over there. All the architectural work is done in India. They bring the finished product back over and he stamps it because it's required by the building department that an American stamps it. So you have it, but it's just work. Why not? As a businessman, you want to go where you can get the cheapest labor, right? I flew with the vice president of Haynes Corporation down to Costa Rica, and they were shutting down all the plants that makes all of the, you know, the Haynes clothing that they have. They're moving all the plants to Haiti. Why would they do that? You know how much it costs to hire people in Haiti? $1 a day. 40% of the planet right now is existing on less than $2 a day. If I drop it down to $1, it's a third. And I realize a lot of people have always been living that way because they don't use money. But you do. This whole system is going to be changed right now. When Ron Paul is out here telling you that, you know, we're going to audit the Federal Reserve, doesn't do us a bit of good because who cares? They're creating the money anyway. My good friend is a state representative. How many people in here have seen the movie From Freedom to Fascism? Well, Phil Hart's a friend of mine, and he wrote the book, Is It Constitutional Income? According to the Constitution, wages are not taxable. And you volunteer to pay taxes on your wages. You volunteer, because it says so. Taxes are voluntarily. But you want to go try to fight them, then they set it up. But they don't have enough people to police everybody right now anyway. So they got to do something. They have to have a diversion because things are going to come to a head real fast. They got to get World War III started. What I'm telling you, when you see Israel being hit by a bomb, whether it comes from Syria or it comes from Iran, they're going to be hit by one. How many in here are aware of the false flag, the 9/11 thing they were going to do on Seattle 2 months ago? There's a few of you. Well, what happened is that somebody stole a Russian nuclear bomb. It was a Chinese ship. And the guys headed for Seattle, and the Russians got wind of it and traced it down, and they sunk the ship, was it 30 miles offshore out of Seattle. Otherwise, we would have had, quote, a dirty bomb, exploded in Seattle, and the radiation would have gone on down and started the whole game, and Russia got wind because they don't want to start the war now, not the way it is. That isn't what's planned. And don't think that Putin doesn't know what's going on. When he threw Netanyahu out here yesterday, they came up, they threw him out. Why did Bush and the president of Canada get together? This is all last week. And why did they get together with Mexico? We know we can't do anything with Mexico. The Prime Minister of Canada said we won't go to a new currency because we're strong. If you got money and you have ability to do it, the Canadian dollar is much stronger than ours. Some people are moving that way. The Everbank in Florida will allow you to put money in. They charge you a fee for doing it. How long will they be in business? I don't know. That's the reason why I prefer having the physical metals. And I have them in my pocket. I don't go anywhere without it, as they say. I used to go with, have my American Express and all the rest of it, but this has just happened to me. I went down to Ecuador, and I had a new travel agent, and I booked some tickets on the travel agent, and anyway, I come back, and I'm sitting there, I got $4,000 in airline charges against my card from Guatemala. Interesting. I got them to cancel everything, but what's happening now is everybody is screaming for money everywhere because this is a worldwide meltdown. In Japan, they're in trouble. Their currency's coming back up because they're a society, but they still have to import everything. It's an island, right? Russia, it's the old thing, a communist saying, is feign weakness while we grow strong. And that's what they've done. That country is so huge, it has tremendous resources. They export the natural gas to Europe, they have control of Europe. And basically that way. So if they don't toe to their line, they're going to go make sure. The Bank of International Settlements, however, is the banker's bank in Switzerland, which keeps track of all money, as you know. And they're a little upset about what's going on, too, because the whole world's coming apart. So the plan is to go to their ultimate game again, and that's for world control. And the only way they can do that is to get the masses to start fighting each other. That's going to be happening here in the streets in Los Angeles. How many people do we have in the streets? We have 90,000, isn't that what they said, that are in the streets in Los Angeles homeless right now? 90,000. They did a TV thing on it. These are things that are happening in all the cities that I talk to across the street or go to. They have people living in tents where we are even, underneath the highways and everything else because they've been evicted out of their houses. In Detroit, they'll give you a house. Did you know that? They'll give you a house so you'll pay taxes so the city gives something because they had so many people walk away. Now, who's going to take care of this problem? We can't do it at this point. We can only take care of us, the ground crew, and the rest of us around here to give them information on what's occurring on the planet in a big way. And the big way is we're getting ready for World War III, frankly. The economy is going to collapse. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at that. I mean, you can sit down here with Ingrid and say, look at how the stock market has gone up in the last day. It went up another 30 points yesterday. I don't care what it went up. All the Plunge Committee has to do is buy 100 shares of stock at 10 minutes before closing. At any price it wants to, that determines the price of the other 10 million shares, right? Isn't that right? That's what the stock market's done by trading. It's trading between what? We're trading now between computers. Did you know that? And the computers are measuring by microseconds just the indication. If somebody buys one share, and as they say a pattern, immediately the computers move in and do it. And the computers are fighting against each other. The government right now is trying to stop that. But who's controlling that? The big banks? They don't care because they got control of all the money now. We went out and bailed out what? The stock firms and everything else with what? More debt? If Obama comes up with any kind of a program, we got $2 trillion more in debt. There's another couple of trillion, but we got $100 trillion in derivatives. And what are they not talking about? The derivatives is all the commercial real estate in the United States. I own my own bank outside the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, I'm also a director of a bank of the Federal Reserve. We sit down and we look at all this stuff. If you have a loan, you lay it off and you package it and you sell it to somebody else. If you lay it off to another bank, or the market they call derivatives, derived off of. And so what has happened is anybody that had a shopping center, like I had one, well, I owned a city block in Beverly Hills. That loan was resold many times because it kept going on the thing. Whatever happened? You know, all these things there's nothing behind anything today. If you really check it out, if somebody started foreclosing on your house, there are ways out if an attorney is. What you want is demand the note. Without a note, there's no debt. Did you know that? A lot of people are getting their houses because there's no debt. How can you prove liability? The problem is, will the insurance companies, the mortgage companies, release it unless you get the court to do that. Because just because they don't have a debt, they still have a recorded liability against the house, as you probably will. And some of the guys have to go through the foreclosure to clean out your own situation. But there's ways to get around a lot of it. You have to really research and take care of it. But what are you going to do with the house anyway? In the state of California, what's your taxes? Do you have that income? Most people don't have the money right now to pay the taxes on their houses, which is then going to pay the people that are on furlough right now. The people that are working for the cities are running out. The police forces are running out. The firefighters are running out. Many cities, they had a water main break this morning. Did you read about it back on the East Coast? One of the cities flooded a whole part of the city because all of the water things were done 20 years ago. How about the building here in Los Angeles? How many years ago was all the underground structures done? I talked to a guy, I have some friends in the three-letter agency, CIA, Crooks in Action. They're all professional liars. Promise me, I don't know a CIA guy that doesn't go to liar school. That's all part of their game. What do you think? You think they're just sitting here, they're out here trying to do things, and they don't want anybody to know what's going on. And they have their own little group within a group. It's a crazy deal. Anyway, I talked to one of the guys up, and he says, you know, they got swimming pools in houses up in Lancaster and Palmdale inside their houses, and they're making these chemical mixtures, if you want to call it that word, biological mixtures of diseases. So they can reverse the water out of the swimming pool into the water supply system to go to Southern California. Are you getting that? They figure within 5 days they can wipe out all Southern California by just your drinking water. And believe it or not, we were on television. I had Ted Gunderson and stuff. We went on TV and they jerked the program because I had a biologist explaining the program. And this is what Ted Gunderson, former head of the FBI, if you're probably aware of, for Southern California. We were working on this, trying to expose this thing. You guys probably didn't even know that. We're so close to what they got planned, because when we set out on the plans was to use neutron bombs on the major cities, because the radiation goes away in a few days, and we get rid of most of the people, the useless eaters or expendable containers, or today you've got a new title, you're a human resource. Got to make it, well, you go get a job. What does it say? The Human Resource Division? Anyway, that's where you're at this minute. The next thing you got to look at it, that was a plan, but the secondary plan was biologicals that are much cheaper. So why do you think they want to come out with this mandatory vaccination? How do you create something that will vaccinate against something that we don't even have yet? And who does the testing? If you're going to take one of those things, have the doctor that administrates you swear that he took it before he gave it to you. All right? Because a lot of times that's happening. What's happening in California with the doctors? They're not getting paid right now. So what's happening on that? We got a lot of foreign doctors that are moving in on their positions, but you're also then getting less care. The United States has moved from one of the best care places in the world down. Now you can go to other places if you need it, but we have to be taking care of our own bodies. We have to know what we are. And what are we? We're a spirit inside this rent-a-wreck. It weighs 22 grams. It actually physically has weight. They've measured it. At the moment of the so-called death, that 22 grams leaves your body. The Russians did a big study on it. They made a movie on it. How many people see 22 grams? Interesting, huh? What's that? That's 4 packs of sugar. You know the little pack of sugar? They're 1 gram. And why did they measure things in grams? You have any idea? Well, when it comes to sugar, you can get 5 grams basically is 1 teaspoon of sugar. Go see how many grams of sugar is in the bottle of Coke. You have any idea? 40 to 45. So if you divide 5 into 40, how many teaspoons of sugar are you taking? 8 to 9. Sugar is carcinogenic and addictive. Start looking at your stuff on it. Don't take the things that are coming down, like all their hydrogenated stuff that they've given you is all poisons to your body, whether it's anything. The only good sugar that you can get is probably the natural cane sugar, and you can buy that still. Your salt that you get at the store, go buy sea salts because it has the minerals. If you use the other ones, you're depleting your body. These are just things that you should know. The problem that we have is immense because it comes down only to our health or the lack of it. We're being bombarded by so many energies at this minute that your brain functions. How many people in here all of a sudden are waking up and say, what happened to that day? You don't remember it. This is also part of another cycle. Planet Earth, as we're spinning around this 365 and a quarter days, right, around our sun, our system is going around the central sun of, it's called Alcyon, of the Pleiades. This cycle is about 26,000 years. We are entering into that cycle. We're already being affected by some of the rays. The rays are hitting the planet. We're killing off 1,000 life forms a day on the planet. Did you know that? This is a combination. I mean, I got friends that have, down at Roytan, for instance, people love to skin dive, or down in scuba and look at all of the stuff on it. The fish are dying, the coral reefs are dying, everywhere. You know, I'm fortunate. I get to travel around the world, and I don't owe my living to anybody. I've made it all. I've lost a lot when I found out what was going on. They tried to destroy me, but I'm able to come out here to help you go along. And the biggest help we can have is for you people to read that little handbook and ask for guidance from off planet. Because I tried all the things I could probably. When I found out what was going on, a friend of mine over here is a major producer. I said, let's expose these guys. And he laughed. He says, who controls the distribution? Think about that. Who controls the distribution of information in movies? If they want it out there, they'll put it out there. It's like Aaron Russo when he did his. Aaron and I talked about that. You know, and he basically got his movie out by four-walling. How many people know what four-walling is? Four-walling is when you go in and when a movie chain opens up, there's eight screens inside a theater. They're all the movies and everything are provided by the studios, and they give a percentage back to, as you know, 80 to 90% of whatever the take is. But for four-walling is when you take your own movie and you go buy that screen. So whatever income comes back to you, then you can put your stuff out. Now that's what Aaron did for a little while, and you know, unfortunately, Aaron was Bette Midler's, you know, producer, and he did the movie From Freedom to Fascism, and he died of cancer, but he had cancer before he did this. I've known Aaron for quite a while. These are things that are occurring. The other information, I have another friend who just also died, unfortunately. He and I were entertaining a new way to get distribution of information out. And the best way for information today is people like Bill and Carrie, and we got to thank them again, frankly. Because they're acting as a catalyst on a known thing right now that they're trying to figure out how to control it. I mean, they're still leaking through, as you know, into China can shut it down. I had some people try to get up on Project Camelot and couldn't get on the net last night. I get people the same thing with my website, and I don't have anything that's really that dangerous that's on there other than, and my little books are not dangerous because they don't understand them. They don't. I go to another company, a guy thumbs through it. Is this going to be against the government? Does it say anything about that? No, it makes you rethink who you are. You're a product of, you know, in John 1 it says, in the beginning there was the Word. We all know that wasn't right. In the beginning it was thought. Words are thought out loud. When you pray, you put out thought. When you meditate, you're hoping to receive thought. So it's very obvious that we're nothing more than the thought, as they said, when I talked to the ETs, they said, above all things is the creation. I did ask them what's above the creation, and they just responded, well, there's still mysteries for us. So we have to look at all this. This is a huge game. We are all sitting here playing, as Shakespeare said, this is a world play, and we're all players. And we all have to work together and support each other. And I don't care. One thing you ought to know, this is the human race. I don't care what color you are. It's the human race. There are different races that look different on different planets. They're different sizes and shapes. I mean, I flew around the world to find out for myself. The situation is that, so we're a human race, we keep having divisions. It's a division between men or women, or between black or white or anything. That makes no difference. What's inside is that 22 grams, right? Men and women were designed as equal divided sexed pairs. Equals. But we've never been treating that way. Women have always been less than. However, today, who's the richest segment of the United States? Women. Did you know? Killed off most of the guys. No. It's just one of the factions. I got another notice. This is all yesterday. This is all recent. People ask me where I get information. I get it from off-planet. I get information from on-planet. I have, like I say, I've got friends in all the three-letter agencies, whatever that means. I don't know how many people know here the FBI can't arrest you. Anybody know that? Yeah, there's one. You can't. What is it? It's the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They have to go to the local sheriff to have them arrest. Did you know that? So somebody, you know, it's a nice title for a movie, but the truth is they don't have any ability to do anything. If you allow them to do on it, just forget it. It's the other thing. This was dated, this is from Bloomberg. Everybody know who Bloomberg is? You know, it's another financial deal. The oldest Swiss bank tells its clients to sell all U.S. assets or leave. Interesting? Switzerland now is revealing all their depositors, all the people that put the secret money. I have a friend that put a lot of money back there back in the early 50s and 60s, you know, in the entertainment business. You know, had millions over there, so he just stuck it there because he wanted to be safe. He tried to bring back, I don't know, 500,000 of it a few months ago, and the State Department stopped it and said, where did you get the money and when and how? Do you have any records from 20 years ago? It's kind of like what they're doing right now. By the way, you want to know that this is going on because they're seizing money. We had our attorneys in New York sent the money back to Switzerland, and we rerouted it, so we got the money over here. You can't do it individually. All individuals will be monitored. Just so you know, I have the accounting books for the New World money systems, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, because I want to know what they're doing. I mean, I'm a banker. I want to know what the bottom line is. I'm not like our congressmen that don't read a summary of what their people do. I want to read each line. In the New World system, they do mention gold. They don't mention silver at all. So if you buy silver, it's not mentioned as anything they're going to take because it's an industrial metal. It's used in medicine. There's probably 1 ounce of silver in every computer. Did you know that? And we're out of silver in the United States. So it's selling for about $18 an ounce now. Buy what you can. You know, we can get it for you. I'm only 5 blocks from it, just to let you know. But gold is a real peculiar thing. The history of the planet, we've always used gold as money. I mean, when the guys go out to the pirate ships and they dig up the stuff in the ocean, what do they get? Gold. Whether it means anything or not, 90% of the world's gold that was ever mined, that wasn't taken off planet, frankly, is still here because it doesn't oxidize, doesn't turn down, and it's stored. It's a storable thing. Silver oxidizes. 90% of the silver that we produced in the last 10 years is in the dumps because they put it in the computers. They throw away the old computer. What are they worth? It's used in electronics all over the place, but they just trash it. So it's back underneath the ground sometime in the future. I don't know how they're going to take care of it. Meanwhile, you probably know that, I'll go back to the gold thing. They have 2 definitions of gold. I wanted to know what, when I fought with the state, when they were trying to license me for selling money, I wanted to have the definition of what money is. They still don't have a definition of what money is in their own books right now. So if we're dealing in money, how in hell can we determine what it is, right? Well, I got around that thing. We just said artificially I created a security, and that's how I got in the securities business. But The secondary thing I was looking, if gold is money, and there's two types of gold. The first type of gold is called monetized gold. Monetized. What does that mean? Well, it's gold that's held by the central banks or under their direct control. In other words, if right now you can buy maple leaves, the American Treasury quit putting out the eagles because of the demand, there's not enough available. In the United States, all the mines that produce gold and silver, none of it is processed in the United States. It goes to Canada, Mexico, Switzerland, Hong Kong, just so you know. It may come back over here and they put the hallmark on it for whatever it is to keep track of it. So you have to look and see what it is. But anyway, monetized gold is held by the central banks. So if you have gold, you want to have it monetized. In other words, it's stamped on it, Canadian maple leaf, a Krugerrand even, or an Australian koala, or Philharmonic from Austria, or you know, whatever is happening. This is another thing you ought to know. In this last 2 weeks, China is now allowing their citizens to buy gold. Now, I got 1,300,000,000 people over there. They now have the ability to buy gold. What do you think is going to happen to gold? We don't have any over here. Try to buy some gold. I mean, the dealer discount's about, between $40 and $50 right now over spot. And that's the spread, but it goes up $10 or $20. Gold will probably go to $2,500 to $3,000 very shortly. I don't know what we're going to buy when we get the gold. All I know is it's just an exchange. I'll be able to trade it someplace. I mean, dentists will buy it, or somebody's going to use the thing. It's something that I can have for storage to maintain a standard of living. I have my brother has a ranch. I can go down and live with him. I've got other friends that invited me up there. I happen to live in the city, but I've also been going back and forth, as you probably know, to Ecuador, only because of what the country's doing, and it's a reasonably safe country to be, and it's south of the equator. Now, what does that make to you? Oh, let's go back to the gold. There's plenty of gold down there. Second thing is called commodity gold. What is commodity gold? Commodity gold is the gold around your neck, or in some other form that's not monetized. They won't count that. So when people are telling you, I do have a gold watch. It doesn't count as gold until they take it, and then at their discretion, they'll make it money. But meanwhile, you and I, we're going to all be trading between each other. We're going to have to learn how to trade. There's a book that we have, and we didn't author it or anything else. It's called Patriots by Jim Rawls. How many people in here know about the book? He's done a tremendous job telling you how you're going to be able to survive in the days ahead. And this not only monetarily, because that's what most people go for. And they ask me more, they go to their billfold first. What am I going to do? I'm not sure what we're going to be doing, frankly. I know I have food. I know water's critical, so I got to be a place there. I know where the water comes from. And I was up in Sacramento with a TV crew team. They're getting all ready, though, to go ahead and look at the dams being destroyed on the earthquake. Did you know that? How many people here on the internet pull up the California earthquake report every day? There's some of them. How many earthquakes did we have yesterday? Over 1,000 in California. Did you know that? Every day there's over 1,000 earthquakes. They just don't report anything unless it's over 3. Am I right? Now, I told you I went to Colorado School of Mines and I majored in geophysics, so I started looking at all these things and trying to put back the earth shifting and the transformation. Hey, it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen at any time right now. I'm concerned. I moved out of Southern California. I live just a few miles from here because I know what's coming down. I also know that they tell us that we should be above 1,200 feet because the earth is going to start making its major geophysical changes in the next 3 years also. Now the cycle, remember, the One World Order wants to have their plan done by the year 2012. Why? Prophecies say everything's going to be, it's the end beginning. It's not the ending of life. It's the ending of this cycle, the beginning of the new one. We're going into the new Aquarian age of whatever's left. Now what's going to be left? The ground crew. I'm urging every one of you, I've all given you copies of the handbook. If you've got it and you take it, give it to somebody else. Don't try to tell them what it is. because it speaks to people in different ways. My guys off planet will be in contact. Just ask them. It's real simple to ask for information, because as these books reprogram the way you think, they're actually anti-virus devices. You want to have a computer, you got it all plugged up? Well, we're plugged up. When we go back and look at history, history is 2 words. His story. Always written by the victor. So you don't know if it's real or not. I mean, I looked at a history book the other day for college kids, and I said, my God, they got one line that's correct, and the next one's a lie. How do kids discern that? Because they just want to get out of school. Isn't that true? The other problem is, what jobs are there out there now? What kids that go to college now, what jobs can they get? We do know they're fortunate because they're less than age 44. That's the cutoff date. Get everybody in the military. Did you know the Army is now hiring high school kids? They don't know it yet, but they're 15 and 16 years old. Their families are being paid $500 a month. They got a guarantee when they get graduated from high school, they go into the military. Did you know that? It's all happening right now in front of us. Is that reported on the local news? See, there's too much information. I'm an information junkie because I love all this stuff, and like I say, I get it all. But I'm also trying to pass it on so you can go ahead and discern it. I want you to go out and research it, because that means it gets you off your duff to find out yourself and be part of the ground crew again. We got to gain, the first rule, gain all knowledge. We can't do it in one lifetime. The reason why I just have this wheel of reincarnation bit. But now we need to awaken because we run out of time on the planet. Planet's getting ready for this major big stuff, and you guys all want to wait and say, well, why isn't it happening now? Well, pick up the paper. It's happening in other places right now. It just hasn't happened in your backyard yet. Any moment. Is the market going to crash in the next day? I predicted they were going to crash the market 6 months ago, but what did they do? They put in all this new funding stuff. It was all arbitrary. Does anybody really know what they did? Where they went with the money? How did they did that? And does that exist, since they can't tell me what money is in the first place? All they did was create more thin air out of it. Now, you're all used to using your plastic cards. Get ready. Interest rates are going to go to probably 18 to 30% on your credit cards. And I expect that any moment. You'll get a notice in the next month or two. Did you know that? Okay, now let me give you a banker's thing. As a banker. It's called the banker's rule of 72. You know about that? You divide the interest rate or the inflation rate into 72, and you'll tell you how long it takes for your money to double or cut in half. If inflation is going at 20%, 20 into 72 is what? 3.2, I mean, in 3.2 years, your dollar is going to be worth 50 cents on the dollar. In 2 years. When I was in the game of insurance and setting things up for companies, most people's retirement funds were based on investing money at 8.3%. And I calculated all that stuff, and I looked at the Social Security. By the way, Social Security is all the money's borrowed. It's gone. So when they pulled the plug, this is going to be mass chaos on everything. If you take the Social Security calculation, or I mean the retirement calculations at 8.3%, what investment could you put money into that yields 8.3% for the next 30 years or 40 years? What? What would you do if you had $3 trillion, just like they were talking about, that were in the money markets? Where can they put the money to the investor? Because the investors are putting in the money in the bank right now, which is giving you what? 1.5% or 2%? Am I right? And you just told me inflation rate is as high as 20, so how far are you going in the hole? What's going up to offset this on a world basis? Gold and silver. That's all it's doing. It's just a storage, and it's going to be traded at what you have. So that's all I can advise you of doing that. Now, they're going to give me a couple more minutes to talk, so what I'm going to do at this minute, I want to open it up, because we had some people here, to any questions you may have on any subject that's involved with anything. Right.
Real estate. Do you think it's going to just stay the same?
Real estate, the question was, the question was, is real estate going to stay the same? No, real estate's going to collapse. It's going to go down because, remember, it's based on the money and borrowing, and it's not going to have it. I'm not a real estate. I don't recommend anybody getting into real estate today. And
you mentioned the central banking system, what it was going to be like, and
the question was the central banking system and what it's going to be like. The New World Central Bank System, which is setting up their program, is to have a one world currency. That's the little. When I flew with the guy the companies in Salt Lake City, they make the New World Cash Card. They've just got through making several 100 million of them. So they're getting ready for this game. I don't know what money's going to be worth and how we're going to be doing it. I got the same problem in Ecuador. They're on the dollar system. The president's going to go off the dollar when our dollar collapses. Well, I just got through reading you what's going on. Other countries aren't taking the dollar. And this big clue from MasterCard and Visa, what did they just say? Well, that's in Discover. They're going to take, you know, if you're going to have a card out of this country using a card, it'll be okay if it's an American card, but you're still going to be charged a 35 to 40% exchange rate. That's an added on. And Europe's already used to value added, but we're talking about just an arbitrary thing because the money's worthless. Yes, sir. The Prime Minister can't. The question was, is the Amero going to happen? The Prime Minister of Canada says, no way, we're strong. All the world's looking at that. Why do we want to, again, loan money to a bankrupt? Would you buy a government bond today? It's not supporting. You have to understand, 100%, not 10%, 100% of the income taxes today that are paid today are paid as interest to the Federal Reserve. None of it runs our government. The question was, I've been told to get all my money out of the bank. She's lucky she has money in the bank. Seriously, they're going to shut the banks down. They're already doing that. And when they go into it, the question is how. Well, you're probably not aware. MasterCard and Visa and Verizon had a mistake last week, and their computers broke down, so there was no transfers that were going on all of these accounts. There's a point where you won't be able to access your money. Yes, sir.
George, thank you for being here. When you talk about gold and precious metals, I can't help but think about the seizure of 1933. Can you speak to that?
The question again was, cannot address the problem of the seizures of gold and stuff during 33. Frankly, they didn't seize all the gold. They were going to. They got some of it. But right now, they took care of that problem because, frankly, 80% of the world only thinks that gold is around their neck is in China and India. So they're not going to go out and seize the gold. They don't have the time enough to police it. What they're doing now, and this Homeland Security just made the rules at this minute. If you have $10,000 worth of gold and you sell it to a dealer, they have to provide a 1099. At that time, the government is insisting on you having records when you purchased it. Otherwise, they're going to consider it short-term gain, and it'll be at the maximum rate. And to get around that, you sell 8,000. You don't go to the same dealer and sell another 8,000, or go to another. You can go to other dealers. Don't go to the same dealer, because otherwise that's considered the way they got it set up. And this is all in the last 30 days. Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead. Stand up.
Yeah, I was wondering. I heard that the State Department has notified all of its embassies throughout the world to cash in their dollars and obtain about 2 years' worth of their foreign currency in their respective nation states. Is that true, or?
It is true. The question again is foreign embassy employees. The embassy itself is urged to get at least 2 years' worth of, quote, local money and supply in order to keep their embassy people going. You know, people forget this, just so you know what's going on. The United States has never won a war. Did you know that? Did you know World War II is officially still going? There's a treaty between Japan and Russia right now. They're negotiating on getting rid of the treaty. And if they do that and they become friends, then it's mandatory that we get rid of all of our military bases over in the Far East. Things are real happening behind the scenes on that.
George.
Where?
George.
Yes.
This question, is very respectful. If your ET sources reveal to you why would you want to stay on a planet ruled by the Illuminati and its
would we want to bother?
Speak into the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. If your ET friends, did you ever ask them why would we want, and I mean this question seriously, I'm a fighter, survivalist, and all that, but why would we want to be on a planet ruled by these beings? Why don't we just go somewhere better? It's our time. You know what I mean?
We've reached a point, and this is a big school, and we have been given all the information along the lines in order to offset it, but we've also been given the wild card, the free will. And so we would much rather not take on responsibility. Dad will take care of it, my uncle will take care of it, or the Uncle Sam will take care of it. So what we've done is become a line of servants, if you want to look at it, or victims. The books themselves go into that. You don't want to be in the victim standpoint anymore. You want to be in a standpoint, I'm responsible. I know what I'm doing. I want to help. I want to get everybody going. So the ETs are looking at us and hoping that we'll be able to get the ground crew throughout the world together, because with our collective thought asking for it, because we don't know what we're going to come up with. I don't know how to solve this thing. I mean, I got ideas. I talk to my people in politics about what to do, but none of it's going to work because it takes too long. Like he said, we're out of time. We're out of time.
Is there any gold in Fort Knox?
No, my CIA, but the question was there any gold in Fort Knox? And my CIA friend, who was former head of the CIA for Latin America, they gave him a project to see how long he could get into, and if he could get into Fort Knox. He says, that was a snap getting in. He says, there's nothing in there anyway. Most of the gold is actually in New York that they have. We're sending it to London. China now is declaring all their gold to be shipped back over to Hong Kong, as you're probably aware, or maybe not aware. That's all coming up. A couple more questions?
Do you know what's going to happen to like a home loan if the American dollar fails? Because I have a mortgage and I'm
The question, well, you know, that's a question we look at it. How are they going to make the exchange? They're talking about right now maybe a 6-to-1 devaluation in the next 2 months on the dollar. Are you aware of that? 6-to-1. I don't know what that's going to mean. Will foreign countries accept even that? Because right now, all the documents I'm getting, this is all from the last 4 days, they don't want the dollar in any form. Yes?
Where do we find information on like how to get monetized gold and
Call me on the phone.
Huh?
Call me. You know, it's better to, the biggest thing about stuff now is not, the other question is try not to have records of it. And there are ways to do it. You can attend the coin shops. You can come in that are coin shows that are around. You can buy stuff there. Watch the papers. It's just a game that's going on. And I got 2 strange people going to come up here to talk to me now. Well, actually, they're not very strange.
Thank you, George.